already know that he has speed, he's got power. I know he's moving up in weight class, can he carry it? But those intangibles, I believe that he has them.
Look at it, and Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small, and he can look bigger Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always the difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference.
Too fast and too smart for Canelo. Even Canelo is a good boy. I'm not saying nothing from not taking nothing from Canelo.
Canelo versus Crawford is being hyped as the biggest fight of the year, and Teddy Atlas has delivered his straightforward breakdown. Atlas believes Terence Crawford has what it takes to win no matter the weight class. He praised Crawford's skill, discipline, and adaptability while arguing that Canelo Alvarez is no longer the fighter he once was. Atlas claims the Mexican superstar has lost the hunger and fire that made him great. In his view, Canelo's recent performances reveal decline, even going as far as calling him overrated when compared to Crawford. For Atlas, Crawford's sharpness and determination give him the edge to win.
That the urgency's not there, the fire's not there. At least it wasn't there a week ago. At least I say that. It wasn't there a week ago. Maybe it'll be there now. Maybe he's the kind of guy that, and I get it, that at this point in their career, it has to be a big fight to get up. That Canelo can't get up for these fights. He couldn't get up for that fight. All right. If you want to go down that road, go ahead. But my road is still possible. That he got old, that it just doesn't have that fire no more. Oh my God, I'm going to say this one. That maybe he's a little overrated. I listen, I know he's tremendous. He's tremendous. But could he be a tiny bit overrated? If you look at some of his biggest fights, the fights where you had to be great to win, that you fought great fighters or near great fighters. You could make the argument that he lost the first Triple G. He didn't embarrass himself, but he got a draw. Second one, you could make the argument he lost that. I know it was a different kind of fight, and he got better. But you can make that. You can make the argument he lost to Lara. He did lose to Mayweather. You can make the argument it was too young in his career. Maybe. Although it wasn't that young. He turned pro when he was 15 or 16.
Mean Machine, a fighter who has shared the ring with Terence Crawford, firmly believes that size will not decide the outcome of Crawford's showdown with Canelo Alvarez. He argues that Crawford's skill set is superior and his intelligence in the ring makes him too smart for Canelo. For him, the difference in weight and natural size isn't enough to close the gap in ring IQ, adaptability, and timing that Crawford brings every time. Mean insists Crawford is one of the most calculated fighters of this era, capable of adjusting mid-fight and dismantling opponents despite their physical advantages. He highlights Crawford's ability to control pace, distance, and rhythm, factors often more important than sheer size. To him, this matchup favors the fighter with the sharper tools, and that's clearly Terence Crawford.
No, it's not good for Crawford. Canelo's too big. Right now, my position changed. I think Crawford is too fast and too smart for Canelo. Even Canelo is a good boy. I'm not saying nothing from not taking nothing from Canelo, but the way when you see oh, he's too big, when you see Usyk fights and what Usyk did to the big guys like Joshua and Fury, so the size doesn't matter. I think the skill level matters, and Crawford, he gained weight, but I think he's gonna be even faster, and his head works good in the ring. He's boxing IQ is just on top. So I would say 50-50, but right now I'm kind of leaning more to Crawford.
And that's just because of what you saw Usyk do?
It's not I'm just giving an example, size doesn't matter in the boxing. When they say Canelo is big and he's fighting 175, 168, and Crawford just moving from 147, 154. So I'm just putting an example that size doesn't matter, and that the fighter makes the fight. I think it's just that I see that Crawford's training and that he's big too right now. So he gained weight, but not lots of people gain weight that sloppy weight, I would say fat, but he gained he looked strong, massively strong. So I think it's gonna be a good one.
How did Terence feel physically when you faced him? Like, how is his strength? Because yeah, a lot of people do make the point that Canelo's just maybe too big, too powerful for Crawford.
Crawford, I wouldn't say like his punches was like super strong, but his timing and accuracy is what makes difference.
Mean Machine also draws a striking comparison between the upcoming Crawford-Canelo fight and Canelo's 2013 clash with Floyd Mayweather. Back then, Canelo was younger, less seasoned, and Mayweather schooled him with speed, defense, and ring generalship. Mean Machine believes Crawford can replicate that kind of strategy by using movement, precision, and smart counterpunching to frustrate Canelo and neutralize his weapons. Still, he points out one major difference. Canelo today is far more experienced than he was in 2013. Over time, Canelo has faced elite opponents, learned to adapt, and developed patience that was missing in the Mayweather bout.
They throw hard, but they don't. They just throw, and he throws like his calculation for the punches and like timing and aiming to the right spots is just like on another level.
Do you think that's going to be the thing that complicates the fight the most for Canelo?
I think so, yeah. And like, yeah, we can go back a little bit to Mayweather Canelo, and Canelo, yeah, Canelo was young and like Mayweather smart, but it can be like familiar fight like that. Even Canelo right now have more experience, and Crawford is still on his prime. So yeah, we will see.
From just your experience, you knowing boxing, like how do you think the fight will play out? Do you think it'll be a slow fight? Do you think it'll be tactical? Like, do you think Crawford?
I think it's gonna start a little bit slowly. They're gonna be careful with each other just to kind of like measure each other and see where they at. And like they're like that's why like they're like champs and they're like great ones. They just don't go like crazy like from the first round.
Regis Prograis offers a different perspective. The former world champion dismisses the idea that Crawford's punches will affect a granite-chinned, naturally bigger fighter like Canelo Alvarez. Prograis notes that Canelo has taken shots from some of the hardest hitters in boxing, fighters naturally larger than Crawford, and remained unshaken. Yet, Prograis doesn't completely rule out Crawford. Though skeptical of Crawford's power, he still acknowledges the Nebraska star's ability to win through skill, strategy, and determination. In his eyes, Crawford's world-class technique, stance switching, and flawless game plans make him dangerous even against someone as durable as Canelo.
I think that Crawford has the ability to outbox Canelo. You gotta look at, and then Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small, and he can look bigger in. Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference, Jamel looked like the bigger man. His head, his neck, everything looked bigger. But when they got in the fight, you can tell. You can see who really was the bigger man. And I think that's the same thing. Crawford is putting on weight, but it's not weight like Canelo had the weight already. He doesn't have to put on muscle. He doesn't have to do that. He's already big like that. But I think that Crawford does have the style. He does have the style to beat him. If you look at the people that beat him or gave him troubles, Irislan, DeLaura, Austin Trout, Floyd, and Bivol, they gave him trouble and stuff like that. And Skull moves around a little bit too. So I think that Crawford has that, but I don't know how Crawford is gonna respond when he gets hit. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel was undisputed at 154, and Canelo hit him and shit. Jamel was like, hell no. Jamel took a knee, So it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now, if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about this might be, people might kill me for it, but well, not really, but this might be the best Mexican fighter ever. One of them, at least, right?
Jose Vargas Jr., who has sparred with Terence Crawford, echoes Prograis doubts. Vargas openly says he doesn't believe Crawford can hurt Canelo, having felt his punches firsthand in sparring. He admits Crawford is sharp and accurate, but not heavy-handed enough to seriously trouble a fighter of Canelo's size and durability. Vargas stresses that Alvarez has endured the power of much larger men, casting doubt on whether Crawford can pose the same threat. Still, Vargas doesn't dismiss Crawford entirely. He points out that power isn't everything. Timing, precision, and consistency can break down even the toughest opponents. Yet in his view, Crawford's shots may not be strong enough to stop Canelo from applying relentless pressure.
Gonna be done in camp.
You know, all we're doing is putting the final touches. I mean, I've been sparring Ron Ellis. I mean, this guy is a dog, bro. He's been getting me ready. I mean, he's been Canelo's sparring partner. Shout out to my guy Ron, man. He comes, tries to knock me out every single sparring. This guy fights at 68, big dude, goes southpaw, and hits hard. So I know he fought Benavidez. So you know, he's a veteran, and he's doing veteran tactics in there where he's not letting me rest in the clinch. He's making me work every second of every round. And I got something for Callum. I got something for the whole boxing world. And, you know, I feel you're just as good as your preparation. And we've been doing the road work. We've been doing the mountain work. I've been recovering hard. I've been getting my rest. You know, I haven't been drinking no dark sodas, bro. I'm feeling like Tyson Fury right now, bro. Like,
Mickey Bay takes a more controversial stance, accusing Canelo Alvarez of cherry-picking by accepting the fight with Terence Crawford. Bay argues that Alvarez has often been selective with opponents, waiting for the right timing or size advantage. In this case, he believes Canelo viewed Crawford as a smaller fighter moving up in weight, making the matchup physically favorable. Critics in boxing circles have echoed this idea, suggesting Alvarez is relying on size and strength to gain an edge over a naturally lighter man. Bay points out that this narrative has fueled backlash, sparking debate among fans and analysts about whether the fight is fair. Still, Bay admits Crawford is far too skilled to be overlooked. Even with Canelo entering as the bigger man, Crawford's intelligence and adaptability could flip the script.
That size comparison type of a thing to make it seem like it's not a type of cherry pick that he has to go up into this battle.
No, he a lot bigger. See, people looking at height. Height don't got nothing to do with weight and where you've been fighting at. Like, Terence put his weight on, so it's a difference. No, Canelo's a lot bigger, like, hands down. Like, just mass, as far as mass. He naturally that thick. You know, he got to come down. Terence, just because your weight is up there, that don't mean that. That's like putting a dude, Benavidez, a heavyweight. He might walk around at 205 or whatever. That don't mean he a heavyweight, though. So, Canelo is by far the bigger man. We didn't see him hit dudes 6'3", 6'2" in the arm and hurt him. Like, he didn't hurt Kovalev, light heavyweight. So, I mean, didn't he have a light heavyweight title?
Well, when he fought Kovalev?
Just period at light heavyweight. Didn't Canelo win the light? Did he?
No, he just Kovalev. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, he might have only fought there a couple times, but the fact that he fought up there though, and he fought way up at light heavyweight, but he been at super middleweight for a minute, so he the bigger guy for sure. So really, he got to hurt Crawford, or he got to get his major respect. He got to get his major respect to make Crawford feel like he got to survive. If he can't that, then he probably ain't gonna win.
Do you feel like you was talking about Crawford? He needs to poke his way out of this fight, right? We've seen that. You know, Crawford's been lined up by lots of fighters. Not Errol Spence, of course, but other fighters that was able to line up with shots that don't necessarily hit like a Canelo. Now, Canelo gonna line you up regardless, right?
Tom Loeffler presents a different angle, focusing not on fairness but on the spectacle of Canelo versus Crawford. As a promoter, Loeffler views this fight as one of the most marketable matchups in modern boxing. He emphasizes that Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford are two of the sport's biggest names, each with massive global fan bases spanning nations and cultures. Loeffler explains that fights of this magnitude go beyond the ring itself. They capture mainstream attention, spark international conversation, and draw in casual fans who might not normally follow boxing.
Actually being in the ring on such a high-profile show, it's huge. It doesn't get any bigger than that, and you know, you got to give credit to both guys. They're both very confident. They both have very passionate fan bases. You know, Callum, you know, having fought in Dublin, packed the arena out there, the 3 Arena, having fought at Madison Square Garden 3 times, fought in Boston, and then Fernando Jr., you know, from one of the biggest boxing named families, you know, in the history of boxing. He's going to bring out a huge fan base. So it's a really exciting addition to, you know, such a big show that it like I said, doesn't get any bigger than that for sure.
I agree. I think that you, along with me, have seen some of these criticisms of the undercard. But really, when you look at it, I mean, we both know Colin Walsh so well. The personality and the authenticity that he brings to this sport is just so sincere. He's so real. Being from Ireland, coming overseas to train and dedicate his life to this craft, and his personality is so magnetic that it obviously brought someone like Dana White to be a huge supporter of him. I think in these weeks leading up to the fight, the fighting public who does not know Callum Walsh is really going to fall in love with him, especially, by fight night.
Saudi boxing power broker Turki Alalshik is credited as the driving force behind making Canelo versus Crawford a reality. Analysts note that while Alalshik's influence and financial muscle have made dream fights possible, not every matchup is purely competitive. In this case, critics highlight the major difference in natural size, warning that Crawford could be at a serious disadvantage from the outset. They argue the fight was built around demand and spectacle rather than balance. Still, Alalshik's role cannot be dismissed. Without him, this fight likely wouldn't exist. His ability to bring together two of boxing's most valuable stars shows his power in shaping the sport today. Whether or not it's the right fight, his vision ensures fans worldwide witness a once-in-a-generation event.
And Benavidez Jr., Canelo, would have mopped up all of these dudes, bro. Would have mopped up all of these dudes. Like, when we're coming out and saying that this is a complete mismatch, and this is a joke, and this is a fantasy fight, you know what I'm saying, that Turki Alalshik dreamed of, and we know he's a big Crawford fan, knowing, the level of star power that Canelo Alvarez has, and he had the bag to make this fight happen. It doesn't mean that it's a logical fight for boxing, bro. At the end of the day, man, you guys tell me if Terence Crawford would have beat Triple G. Tell me if he would have beat Billy Joe Saunders. Tell me if he could beat Bivol, even though, yeah, Canelo didn't beat Bivol, but tell me if he could have beat a Sergey Kovalev. And the other loss Canelo has to Mayweather, man. Crawford, nobody in the world I felt could have beat Mayweather in the height of his career, bro. Tell me if Crawford, bro, would have just flat out went in there and beat a guy like Miguel Cotto, Daniel Jacobs. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, it's the level of competition that Canelo faced, man. And these dudes that he went in there to beat. Terence Crawford is nowhere, has fought nowhere near the level of competition that Canelo Alvarez has fought. And I've had some comments talking about, you talk about we're going off of our emotions and you're going off of your emotions. You're not giving no facts, bro. Like, this is all facts right here, bro. The fact of the matter is, bro, Canelo Alvarez has fought at light heavyweight. The fact of the matter is, Terence Crawford has only fought once at 154 pounds. And the fact of the matter is, he was getting touched up by those right hands all night, bro. By Majumov. That's the fact, bro. The biggest, most dominating fight he ever had was against Errol Spence.
Trainer Dave Coldwell has long admired Terence Crawford's versatility, and he believes those qualities are crucial against Canelo Alvarez. Crawford's ability to fight effectively from both orthodox and southpaw stances gives him a rare edge. Coldwell highlights how Crawford uses this skill to create angles, disrupt rhythm, and keep opponents guessing. He also stresses the importance of Crawford's footwork, which allows him to glide in and out of range and avoid being cornered. Against Canelo, who excels at cutting off the ring and applying steady pressure, mobility could be the deciding factor. Coldwell argues that if Crawford maintains distance, uses lateral movement, and avoids being trapped on the ropes, he has every chance to win rounds, and possibly the fight. For him, it's less about raw power and more about discipline, ring IQ, and movement.
From when the fight got made, I've always fancied Crawford. I just think it's different. I think there's something about him. I think if you add what Crawford's good at, his brain, he can switch, he's very good as a southpaw. His judgment of distance is fantastic, his punch picking is fantastic, he's got good legs. When you add what, and he can pop. I mean, listen, I'm not saying he's got the power to hurt Canelo, but he might have the power to surprise Canelo a little bit and just sting him and just. But when you look at what Crawford does well, and then I look at this version of Canelo, as Canelo's got on, his punch rate's gone down.
That wraps up today's video. Stay tuned for more breakdowns, and we'll catch you in the next one.